Hello everyone, welcome to lecture number 6 of Fundamentals of Computing. The title of this lecture is Computers Memory. The topics that I am going to cover during this lecture are primary versus secondary memory, RAM versus ROM, that is random access memory versus read-only memory, then the various types of read-only memory, various types of random access memory, and lastly the secondary memory. So, this diagram gives an overview of different types of computer memories that are used. Primary memory, the primary memory can be classified as a ROM, that is the read-only memory, and the RAM, that is the random access memory. Random access memory can further be classified as static RAM, that we called SRAM, and dynamic RAM, that we called as a DRAM. DRAM can be further classified as SDRAM, ESDRAM, and DDR. DDR can be further classified as DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, and DDR4, whereas the secondary memory is classified as a hard disk, SSD, floppy disk, CD, DVD, USB, flash drives, and the memory cards. So, I will discuss all about these different types of memories in this lecture. So, one should know what is the difference between the primary and the secondary memory. Primary memory is which is accessed by the CPU directly, or you can say CPU can directly access it. It stores data that CPU is currently using. It is faster as compared to the secondary memory. It has a smaller capacity for data storage as compared to the secondary memory. Examples of the primary memory are read-only memory, that we call ROM, and the random access memory, that we call as a RAM. So, by secondary memory is what? The CPU cannot directly access it. It stores data that the CPU isn't directly, or you can say currently using. It is slower as compared to primary memory, and it has a capacity larger than that of the primary memory. Examples of a secondary memory are hard disk, magnetic tapes, or you can say magnetic disk, CD, DVD. These are the examples of secondary memory. Next, we will discuss about the primary memories, where we can differentiate between the RAM and ROM, that is the random access memory and read-only memory. So, RAM, this is referred to as random access memory. It is volatile, and it's typically, you can say, it comes in large capacities than ROM, which is measured in gigabytes. It allows both reading and writing data, whereas a ROM, which is the read-only memory, it is non-volatile. Once the data is written, cannot be removed, but we have nowadays the different types of a ROM also, from where the data can be erased, and its capacity wise, you can say it is smaller than the RAM, and once a data that I already told you written cannot be easily modified. From this image, you can see the RAM, and this image shows the ROM. So, from here you can get the idea of how the RAM looks and how the ROM looks. So, next we will discuss about the primary memories in detail. First one is the read-only memory, that we call as a ROM. it is non-volatile memory, and non-volatile means what? It stores the data permanently. Most of the computers store critical programs such as BIOS, that we call as a basic input output system, in ROM, and which is used to boot the computer when turned on. ROM are used extensively in calculators and peripheral devices. For example, the fonts used in laser printers are often stored in ROMs. Nowadays, we have a ROM which are rewritable, which are classified as PROM, EPROM and EEPROM. So, PROM means what? Programmable read only memory. It can be programmed only once. Once programmed, the data is permanent and cannot be changed. So, modification is not allowed in the case of PROM. EPROM, that we called as a erasable programmable read only memory. Here the data can be erased by exposing the chip to ultraviolet lights through a quartz window. So, it can be reprogrammed, means it can be, the data written over here can be modified. Another one is EEPROM, that is electrically readable programmable read only memory. It can be erased and reprogrammed electrically. So, it offers the highest level of flexibility with electrical erasure and reprogramming capabilities. This was about the ROM, that is the read only memory, which is a primary memory. Next, we will discuss about the RAM, that is the random access memory. It is volatile. Volatile means what? Once you switch off the computer, the data gets lost. So, anything that you want to execute through the computer, it has to be loaded into the RAM first. It is considered random access because any memory cell can be directly accessed if you know the address of that cell where the data is stored. That is why its name is random access memory. It is of two types, static RAM and dynamic RAM. Static RAM, that is referred as a SRAM, and DRAM means what? The dynamic RAM. SRAM holds data without an external refresh as long as it is powered. DRAM must be refreshed multiple times in a second to hold its data contents. SRAM chips requires 4 to 6 transistors to store a bit, while each transistors on a DRAM chip can store 1 bit of information. Because of this, we can say DRAM chips can hold at least 4 times as much data as SRAM chip of the same size. SRAM is much expensive but faster and more reliable than the dynamic RAM. Static RAM is often used as a cache memory, and static RAM chips are also used in cars, household appliances and handheld electronic devices. Static RAM uses flip-flops, whereas dynamic RAM uses capacitor. So, this is the difference between the static RAM and dynamic RAM. Dynamic RAM generates less heat than the static RAM and widely used to build the main memory. Again, we can classify the dynamic RAM into different types. These are SDRAM, that is a synchronous dynamic RAM which synchronizes itself with the clock speed of the microprocessor to enable faster access to memory. ESD RAM, that is a enhanced SD RAM, which is not widely used, but it is a version of SD RAM that includes a small SRAM cache. Another one is a DDR, which is the most popular these days, and it has a various versions DDR1, DDR2, DDR3 and DDR4. It allows the data transfer on both the rising and falling edges of the clock, and because of that the data throughput is doubled, means it fastens the excess or it fastens the excess speed of data. DDR2, DDR3 and DDR4 represent advancement in DDR by offering increased speed, capacity and efficiency. DDR2, it doubled the data transfer rate compared to original DDR, achieving 4 data transfer per clock cycle, whereas DDR3 it offers 8 data transfer per clock cycle. On the other hand, DDR4 it offers 16 data transfer per clock cycle. So, it means what? The speed wise this one DDR4 is the best among the DDR1, 2, 3 and 4. So, this was about the different types of dynamic RAMs which are available in the market. Next, I will discuss about the secondary memories. It is not directly accessible by the CPU, whereas primary memory is directly accessible by the CPU. Here it is non-volatile, it means what? Data remained in it even the computer system is turned off, whereas in the case of a RAM it is a volatile where the data is lost when the computer is turned off. Secondary memory, it is cheaper as compared to the main memory, or you can say primary memory, and is also used to store huge amount of data as compared to the primary memory. It means its storage capacity is larger as compared to the primary memories. It can be formatted according to file system that organizes the data into files and directories. It is also known as external memory or auxiliary memory. So, this is just about what the secondary memory is. Now, we will discuss the various types of secondary memories used in a computer system. First one is the hard disk. From the diagram itself, or you can say image, you get an idea of this hard disk. So, it contains magnetic platter, it contains spindle, it contains magnetic head and PCB. So, I will discuss it in detail. Hard disk is nothing but it is a set of disks stacked together like phonograph records that has data recorded electromagnetically in concentric circles known as tracks. A single hard disk includes several platters that are covered with a magnetic recording medium. Each platter requires 2 read-write heads. Why 2? One for each side, or you can say one head read head and one write head on upper side, one read head and write head on the other side or the lower side. Data is stored on the surface of a platter in sectors and tracks. A track is divided into number of segments that we call as a sectors. So, what is sector? Sector is a unit which store a fixed number of bytes, and tracks are numbered consecutively from outermost to innermost starting from 0. Each platter has same number of tracks, and a track location that cuts across all platter is called cylinder. So, from here we get the terms track, sector, platter and cylinder. When computer is turned on, the platter in the hard disk immediately begin to move. So, from this diagram I would like to explain how it works. This is the spindle. Here it is divided into number of tracks like this. Each track is divided into number of sectors, and on each platter we have what this is head, which is the read write head, and this base, this is called as a platter. All these platters on the same track, this refers to as what the cylinder, and this spindle rotates while moving this read write head over a particular track or the sector. So, these are the important components of a hard disk: spindle, head, that is the read write head, cylinder, platter, tracks and the sectors. Performance of hard disk depends on its access time, which is a combination of seek time, rotational time and a transfer time. So, what is the seek time? It is time taken by read write head to move over the appropriate cylinder, whereas rotational delay, it is the time taken to bring the target sector to rotate under a read write head, and transfer time, it is a time taken to transfer data to a disk. So, overall time required to access is the sum of seek time, rotational delay and transfer time. Another important concept is the disk latency. What is it? It is a time delay between the requesting data from a storage device and receiving a data back from the device. So, how one can know the performance of a hard disk? To know that, one should have an idea of its seek time, rotational delay and transfer time. So, this was all about the hard disk. Next one is SSD. SSD means what? Solid state drive. It is a non-volatile storage, means it stores the data permanently, and these are faster and more reliable than hard disk. If you want to improve the speed of your system, then you can use the SSD in your system. That will definitely enhance the speed of a data transfer. It consumes less power than hard disk. It allows your computer to boot up more quickly. It has a larger bandwidth and can handle data at ultra speeds. SATA SSDs are the commonly used in older system. NVMe SSDs are faster than SATA SSDs. These are silent, unlike your hard disk, which can make clicking or varying noises, which is seen in what? In hard disk, but not in the SSD. Next, I will discuss on the floppy disk. So, from diagram you can see the various sizes in which the floppy disks are available. We during our studies we have used it. Nowadays these are no more used by the people or user, or you can say programmers. It consists of a thin magnetic storage medium encased in square plastic shell lined with fabric that removes dust particles. Its storage capacity is very limited, but it is cheap and slower than the other storage devices that I have discussed so far. These were widely used from the mid 1970s till 2000. IBM was the first to invent the floppy disk, and it was primarily way to store files, transfer data and create backups. In general, most 3.5 inches floppies are there, which has a capacity between 800 KB to 2 MB, while 1/4 inch disk, it has a capacity up to 360 KB. So, that depends on their formatting methods. Nowadays, we all are familiar with the CD and the DVDs. So, CD stands for compact disc, DVD stands for digital versatile disc. So, let us discuss about its features. These are optical discs that uses laser technology to read and write data onto the disc. What is the difference between the CD and DVD? Yes, capacity wise CD is smaller than that of the DVD, as CD holds around 700 MB of data, while DVD can store 4.7 gigabytes single layer or up to 8.5 gigabytes dual layer of data. CD is mainly used for audio, but can store other data also, whereas DVD is designed to store a high quality of data. So, it is used to store the video and audio data. CD has a single layer of bits on one side, whereas DVD has a double layer of bits, which allows a greater storage capacity. CD can be read by most CD and DVD drives, but DVD drives cannot read all CD drives. Another one is USB flash drives. These are known as pen drives, which is used mostly nowadays. It is compact portable data storage devices. It is good substitute for floppy disk and CD-ROM. These are smaller, faster and easy to carry, durable, reliable, and it can be used to transport and store personal files such as documents, pictures and videos. Memory card, these are also very popular nowadays. These are also called as a flash memory card or a storage cards. These are portable, easy to use. These are non-volatile storage medium. It has a capacities ranging from megabytes to terabytes, where you can store your personal data, that is the documents, pictures and videos. It can be used in various devices such as smartphones, tablets, etc. Magnetic tape I had discussed in the last, because this uses the sequential access, and it is a storage medium that consists of thin plastic strips with the magnetic coating, allowing data to be stored sequentially, not randomly. So, nowadays it is not that much popular. It was technology which was used in 1950s, and data is written in the tracks of the tape. So, magnetic tape, this uses sequential access, whereas RAM that uses the random access. It means what? If you want to get the data in the case of a magnetic tape which is placed here, so for that, if your head is here, then you have to move first here, then here, and then here to find it. Whereas in the case of RAM, that is the random access, if you know the address, you can directly access the data which has been stored at this place. So, this was all about the computer's memory. Thank you.